All right, everybody, we're going to get started. Glad to hear you all having conversations out there. That's a good thing. A few more people coming in. All right, my name's Warren Bile. I work for Dell in Austin, Texas, as a community manager for the Dell Tech Center. And this is the 11th Microsoft Management Summit for me. And so what we want to do today is help those of you who are new to the Microsoft Management Summit get an understanding of what they need to be aware of so that at the end of the week you aren't looking back going, man, I wish I would have done this, wish I would have done that. So let me tell you a little bit about the first time I came to MMS. I had 5 specific challenges. The first challenge was the same that you all have. I had never been to the Microsoft Management Summit. Second challenge was I'd never been to a technical conference. How many of you have never been to a technical conference before? Maybe about a third of you. Good. The third challenge I had is I'd never been to Las Vegas. Is this the first time to Las Vegas for most of you? Yeah, a good bunch of you have never been to Las Vegas. Okay, so that's the third thing. The fourth thing was I didn't know anyone. Came by myself, I didn't know anyone. How many of you, you didn't come with a coworker or anybody else? A good many of you. We're going to fix that before we're done today. The fifth challenge that I had is I've got a cochlear implant, so I don't hear very well, which at least gives me an excuse to not be a real sociable guy. Maybe you don't have that same excuse. So what we want to do is address those challenges so that those don't keep you from getting the most out of this week at MMS. So let's look at our agenda here today. The first thing we want to talk about is some of the just real basic MMS 101 tips that if you don't hear them now, you'll wind up missing out on some things that would make your life easier. Then we have 4 steps to conquering the summit. That's what we want you to do here this week. Leave knowing that you got everything done that you wanted to get done. You met the people that you needed to meet. You got the information and the training that you were looking for. And lastly, and I think the most important thing, is I want you to meet some of the people from your area that maybe you haven't met. I've got some alumni here that are excited to meet you. They have their own story, and they're great resources too. So we're going to do a little thing at the end to facilitate that. So, first thing, some of the facts about MMS. You've got 2 keynotes, one tomorrow, one on Wednesday. Those keynotes are going to be live broadcast, so if for some reason you can't make it, you stay up too late tonight or something, and you can watch it online. 168 breakout sessions, 37 instructor-led labs, 59 self-paced labs. New this year, Microsoft certification exams. Never before at MMS. Who's planning on taking some certification exams this year? Okay, a good number of you. Okay, great. I want to hear from you how that worked out for you afterwards. I want to get some feedback on that. Over 4,000 attendees. Now, the first year I came, there was maybe 1,000 people. So it's grown immensely. So there's a lot of people to connect with. And just so you don't feel like you're maybe lost on some things, over half of the people here are new attendees. So you got questions, grab somebody, ask them. Most people's badges, if they're alumni, they'll say so. That's a free opportunity for you to ask a question of them. They were all helpful. So, some of the tips and tricks. You really want to travel light. If you've never been to a technical conference before, I've participated in 2 marathons in my life, a Columbus Marathon and the Air Force Marathon. You might look at me and go, well, you're a big guy, really? But I did. I did 10 other marathons. They're right here at MMS. You're probably going to walk over 20 miles this week. So travel light. Most of your hotel rooms will have a safe that you can lock up your valuables. Laptop, you should be able to fit a 15-inch laptop in there. Lock it up if you don't need it. How many of you are using, as a primary device, a smartphone or a tablet? Okay, you all just told me you don't need to be packing your laptop with you. So, in addition to that, if you aren't a smartphone or tablet user, spend some time in the CommNet area. The CommNet area has terminals you can use. Each one of those terminals is connected to a printer, so you can look up your schedule, press print, it'll print at the end of the row, and you just go old school, wad up the paper, and off you go. Also, if you have any trouble with wireless, sometimes we got a lot of wireless devices. If you got your tablet connected to the Showland here, if you've got your smartphone, your laptop, you get a little overloaded here. If you have any questions, they've got wireless help people in the CommNet area. You can ask them questions. There's also a Windows Phone app. How many of you have tried that? All right, good, a number of you. I haven't had a chance to download it yet and put it on my Dell Venue Pro, but it's out there. There's also new this year a mobile website. How many of you have used that? Excellent, fantastic. We want to see that. Now I know this next one, there might be a bunch of you out there going, really, Warren? You think I'm going to have a problem with dehydration here? But it's a challenge. If you aren't from the arid region like it is here in Vegas, the air conditioning dries out the air. You're going to want to get some chapstick because it's a challenge. Last thing. I know some people they see there's a few sessions on Friday or Friday morning. There's usually really good ones, so you don't want to miss out on that. But you may go, wait a minute, you got sessions till 1 o'clock. I have to check out of my hotel by 11. What do I do? What you don't do is you don't bring your luggage with you and tote it around to the sessions. That's just no fun for you. Take your luggage to the bell desk. They'll hold it for you until you're ready to go, and then you claim it from them. Makes life really simple. Okay, so let's talk about CommNet, because CommNet is really the place where you want to go to stay up to date with everything. What you have here, this is new for this year. And so on CommNet, you want to watch the main page because they'll put stuff in this news feed. Specifically, pay attention to it because it may happen that they have to switch out some rooms. And so if you're working off of the printed guide from the show, well, if they switch the room, you're going to have to, this is going to be the easiest way to check it before you walk to the room and find on the sign that your session's been moved. You also find out latest information on what's going to happen with the closing party or anything else might be coming up. In addition to the session schedule, if you haven't filled out all of your session list yet, both of these, session listing and schedule planner, are very helpful. You can, if you kind of aren't really sure what you want to be focusing on here this week, the schedule planner will show you by time slot what breakout sessions, labs are in a given time slot, and you just look at it and go pick and go. The session listing is more by track. So if you know you want to do this one track, you can have all those listed together. Obviously, here's yours. Use these to sort by speaker, time slot, track, product, all that, because I'm going to give you some information on some breakout sessions here in just a minute. And this is the easy way to, you see somebody that I put up here and you're like, hey, that guy looks like I want to go see his session. You just pop his name in here and find it and add it to your schedule. Obviously, from a schedule perspective, you got your schedule down here. Click the button, add it to your Outlook calendar. You can use the ICS or Outlook Sync if you want to do it that way to get fully integrated with the schedule tool of your choice. There is an RSS feed if you want to subscribe to that, which will give you all the latest updates. that happen here, changes that might happen here at MMS. So probably the best piece of information that I can give you, I'll give it to you right now. Check the deck. Here's what I mean by that. If you've been spending time on the ComNet site, this is what you've seen. You've been scheduling out your sessions that you want to go to. What's going to happen over the week? The PowerPoint decks for a given session are going to populate. They should start populating and be available before the session happens. So if you're like me, where I just check every single session that I want to go to and I find out I have booked 4 sessions for a given time slot, then you go in here, open up that PowerPoint deck for those sessions and look at it a little closer. Because the abstract may be helpful as far as the general idea of what that session is going to be on. But if you can actually look at the deck that the presenter is going to be presenting from, you may find out that, oh, that's the one I want to go to. So check the deck. You also can, you can download them right here. If you don't want to wait for the DVD to arrive in 8 to 12 weeks or however long it takes to show up, download them here before you go home. Okay, let's talk about the 4 steps to conquering the summit. The first and foremost, and I'll give you my story, is to connect with people. Why is that important? Well, you know the old adage goes, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And it's really true. So I came here to MMS trying to find some people that might be living in my area, to connect with them. And it was probably, what is this now, 7, 8 years ago? I wound up tracking down a guy that I was in Columbus, Ohio at the time, and he was only working about 6 or 8 blocks from me. And so we met for lunch, and I said, you know, it was so difficult just to find you. You were so close. I bet there's a lot of people that want to talk systems management. So we started a user group. And then he was looking for a job, and I had a job opening at the company I was working for. So he came and he was working on with me on the systems management team for our company. And he said, hey, you know, I got an idea. Let's write a book. I said, okay. So we wrote a book on SMS 2003. Then he got someone from Dell, invited him to come down and offered him a job. Good for him. Great. I was excited. A few months later, he calls me up and said, hey, there's another job down here at Dell. So I got to Dell, and then participating here in the community and participating in the Dell Tech Center community, trying to just make sure that information that Dell customers or anybody could use on systems management, I was putting some of that out on Dell Tech Center, and they said to me, hey, you're doing great things. We want you to come and be on our team. So it's really a part of connecting with people that can help you beyond just learning the technology for yourself or for your employer. Connecting with the people here is really can help you with your career. So let's talk about that. You want to meet with your peers. I would say that's probably the most important people you want to connect with here. Connect with your peers. And now you don't have an excuse. You've got Twitter, you've got all these other social networking capabilities that are fully embraced here at MMS. No excuse to connect with your peers. Obviously, the presenters, they really want to talk to you. So make sure you come up and talk to them after a session. Give them your feedback. The most complete set of Microsoft team members is here this week. If you've tried to connect with Microsoft through email or through other things in the past to try to find a person to talk to, it can take a while using those channels. Here you have them all. Go into their booth in the expo hall, talk to them after their presentation, and just connect with them directly. Obviously, the expo hall has a whole bunch of vendors. They all want to talk to you too. So take some time connecting with them. I try to use meals as a very great way to meet with people because they're they're a captive audience. They've got that plate of food in front of them. They aren't going anywhere. So I just tell them who I am, ask them who they are. Simple thing, just like I said, name, where you work, where you're from. Are you new to MMS? How many times you've been here? And off goes the conversation. And really, it seems simple, but you're going to get so much content on the DVD, but the people don't come with it. So you have to meet them here this week. Let's talk about social media. So you've got the Twitter hashtag. How many of you are Twitter users? Say about half. Okay? Even if you aren't a full-blown Twitter geek, go ahead and sign up, get yourself a Twitter account, and just follow that hashtag MMS 2012. And you will learn a lot. You'll meet people, and you'll virtually, obviously, and you'll most likely find out something about the session that you may have had a question on. Obviously, if you want to tweet about a breakout, use the session code. And MMS Fun is the hashtag for everything that's non-technical. So if you want to know where some people are going to go and have fun tonight, follow MMS Fun. If you want to find out about parties that might be available, MMS Fun. Tweet ups. We had a tweet up this morning. How many of you were able to make that? Okay, a few of you. I know registration line was a little challenging this morning. But so we have that tweet up. We've got a meet and geek coming up soon. That's going to be on Tuesday night. Same type of thing, a way to meet people in your community. Probably the biggest non-vendor community for systems management is myitforum.com. How many of you have never heard of myitforum.com? Yes, there are some. Okay, now you aren't. Now you all know about it. Go to myitforum.com and become available with it. It is essentially what MMS is now started there. myitforum.com was an online community of systems management people, and they would meet periodically, face-to-face, in a systems management conference, which became MMS, where you are today. At my IT Forum, there are email lists that I encourage you all to subscribe to. There's a MMS-specific email list. If you want to find out and see what the chatter is there, there's technology-specific user groups. Obviously, there are Microsoft communities like TechNet, and there's vendor communities like Dell Tech Center. Please participate in those. And there's local user groups, like the one that I talked about, that I started with Greg Ramsey in Ohio. myitforum.com has a listing of all those user groups, so that if you aren't participating in a local user group, how many of you are participating in a local systems management user group? All right, a few. Go home and check out that link and see if there's something nearby. If there isn't, Rod Trent, who runs my IT Forum, would be more than happy to set up a page for you, for your region, start your own user group. Also in the ComNet area, there's a community expert bar, which is being staffed by people from my IT Forum. Stop by there. If you got a challenge that you've had in your environment, see if you can go stump one of those guys with it. Most likely they'll have either experienced it or they'll know someone who can help you with it. Let's talk about learning. That's the second thing you want to do. First thing, you want to connect with people. Second thing you want to do is learn something. And in the keynotes, they're extremely helpful because you are going to get this once-a-year view into where Microsoft is going with their products. You're going to see demos of things that maybe a few years out. And it's just exciting to be able to be given that viewpoint. So what you want to do is take notes, because different from everything else where you can you can download the PowerPoint slide deck. Usually they don't make that available on the keynotes. The video may be available, and obviously the live broadcast. So you can do it, you can check it that way, but I usually take notes because that's really quality information in the keynotes. How many of you have already participated in some labs today? Okay, a good number of you. Early on at MMS, labs were very challenging. They were like the registration line today. You had to wait, you had to get scheduled. But over the last few years at MMS, you've got the self-paced labs. You just walk up if the terminal's open and you just get going. But they also have instructor-led labs. If you prefer the instructor-led lab scenario, I highly encourage you to use that. Wally Mead, who has been working on the configuration manager team since the dawn of time, runs all the instructor-led labs for that part, and he does a fantastic job. However, you don't have to spend time waiting in line and slotting your schedule for the instructor-led labs. All of those labs are available self-paced. So for me, I just go sit down at one of the self-paced labs and go to town. You know, if I want to skip a few pages, I'll skip a few pages and move through it at my own pace. The best thing about the self-paced labs is they're open on a much broader time schedule. So if you're all booked with breakout sessions and meeting with other people, and you just are having a hard time fitting your labs in, usually they'll be open in the morning earlier and in the evening a little bit later. And usually there's less people at that time too if you're worried about them being busy. Last year they started an extended lab subscription, which was you were able to download the lab content after MMS for a period of time. How many of you have done the extended lab subscription before or are planning on doing it this year? All right, great, great. Because what they've done in the past, they would update the labs, especially if RTM of a product was 2 months after MMS, people would be asking for that lab content to be updated with the RTM bits. And so as a part of this extended subscription, they started doing that. As I said before, for the breakouts, check the deck. Make sure that it's the content that you want to see. Overbook your schedule. It'll let you select as many as you want so that you can go back and forth, decide on the fly. Obviously, you're going to connect with people, right? I just told you that. The people that you meet here, or if you came with some people from your org or friends, divide and conquer. It's great. You go to this one, I'll go to that one, and that way then you get that. You can meet up at lunch and have that person give you maybe just that little synopsis. Hey, here was the 5 great takeaways that I got from that session. As you see in this room, there's like 4 microphones out there. Every room should have microphones, and that's so at the end you can ask questions directly to the presenter on maybe a challenge that you have with the topic that they're discussing, and interact with them there. Not only, on this last point, not only will all these PowerPoint and audio be on the DVD, but they're also going to make it live here at MMS. It's going to go live on the site. I think today's presentations will be available either tomorrow or the next day. So if you did want to, someone came and said, man, this one session was just fantastic, you'll be able to actually replay that session while you're here, especially if you were looking to maybe connect with that presenter and ask them some follow-up questions. So now let's talk about some of the top presenters. Now, these top presenters are people that either I know personally or that just from my assessment of what the content is going to be presented, that I think there's somebody you should at least highlight in your list. So the question I have for you is, how many of you are responsible for deploying an operating system either to client systems or server systems? Well over half of you. Now, I stopped asking how many people were working on deploying Windows 2000. I think last year I stopped asking that question. So how many of you are still deploying XP? Yeah, these questions are for you to look around. There's nothing wrong with that. We kind of want to give you a chance to see where the rest of your peers are at. So I'm glad to see that. Not many hands. Did you see that?
I saw it.
Not many hands. That's fantastic. Microsoft will be happy to see that. For deployment, let me highlight these guys for you. Michael Niehaus. He has 4 sessions here this week. He's on the MDT development team. So if you use MDT, who are MDT users? A good number of you. That's Michael Niehaus's baby. I doubt that you would be able to pose a question to him about MDT that he couldn't answer. For those of you deploying with Configuration Manager, OSD, who are those? Also a good number of you. Johan, our Widmark, is here with 5 sessions, covering some of it MDT, driver management, a guide to the galaxy was one of them. So put those names down, go back to your session builder, search for them. You don't come to MMS and have 5 sessions if the people haven't said, bring this person back. For user-driven installation, how many of you are trying to do a user-driven installation where you let the user work through some questions to make sure it's customized for them? All right, a few of you. Cameron King and Chris Adams are going to talk through what UDI options are coming out. It's a very powerful tool, so if that's something that maybe you might want to be looking at doing in your environment, I would suggest that session. Who's deploying Windows 7? Easy question here. Almost everybody's doing Windows 7. Okay, Ben Hunter, troubleshooting Windows 7 deployments. So if you've got some challenges there with your Windows 7 deployment, I would recommend that session for you. Let's talk systems management. How many of you are using Configuration Manager in your environment? A good portion of you, well over half. Bill Anderson, for the last 12 years or so, does the State of the Union, which is the State of the Union of Configuration Manager, and they will look at everything that is happening today, bugs that have been submitted. They'll talk about new products coming out, and you really do not want to miss that session. If you want to look at if you're really soon going to be moving to 2012, how many of you are planning on deploying Configuration Manager 2012 as soon as possible? As soon as possible. That's a really good amount of hands. Jason Sandys and Kim Oppelfens, right here after this session. They have the Getting Started presentation, and I think they're going to replay it later in the week. I would highly encourage you. Both Jason and Kim are very talented people. They know Configuration Manager inside and out. Of course, how many of you are responsible for deploying applications in your environment? A lot of you. We know with Configuration Manager 2012, the application model is a new idea. Chris Adams is the guy that you want to go learn from on how to get from where you're at with the Config Manager 2007 application deployment method into the new app model. I asked this question, but I'll ask it again. Obviously, a bunch of you are responsible for software updates and patching, correct? Yes. Angie Stahl works at Dell, and she is responsible for the software updates at Dell. And so she has done a lot of customizations with SCOP, and so she'll be doing a presentation on that this week, and I would encourage you to see that presentation if you are responsible for software updates. Now I really like this next one. Worst practices in Configuration Manager 2012 and how to fix them. Well, I like that because we can talk about best practices all we want, but what are the ones that I want to make sure I don't do? Sherry Kissinger is right here. You're going to meet her a little bit later, and her compatriot, Brian Mason, will be giving a presentation on their lessons that they've learned with Configuration Manager 2012. Last but not least, the gentleman who I co-authored a book with, Greg Ramsey, he's going to be talking about PowerShell and Configuration Manager 2012. How many of you are using PowerShell today for a lot of your scripting? Great number. Great number. You taking notes, Steph? Good, thank you. So operations management. How many of you are ops manager people responsible for monitoring your environment? All right, a very good number of you. Glad to see you here. Dan Savage will be giving the overview for Ops Manager 2012. If you are looking at managing management packs or authoring them yourself if you aren't already, I would recommend going to see Baleson's session. You could really get a lot of, really harness the power of Ops Manager if you write your own management packs for especially your own business applications. Vlad Juranovic, he's going to be doing a session on Hyper-V and System Center versus the competition. Should be a very good session. Now granted, don't furiously take notes like Tev is down here. You just grab this slide deck. It's going to be up on, I don't think it's up on the site at the moment, but it'll be up shortly, and you can go review it. Roy McCall has a session on desktop support with Ops Manager. Most people aren't using Ops Manager for desktops. Anybody using Ops Manager on their desktops? No, not too many. So that should be an interesting session to see how he gives that perspective. And Dieter has a session on Ops Manager tuning war. No management pack left behind. Interesting concept there. How to tune those management packs so you're getting efficiency out of Ops Manager. Virtualization is the big word, right? Everyone's doing some virtualization. How many of you are using virtualized servers in your environment? Almost everybody. Great. Then I've got a bunch of sessions here. Iftikhar on Virtual Machine Manager 2008 R2, getting to 2012. Things you need to know. Great session. Mark Gosen, migrating virtual environments to Hyper-V. Jansen Jones, Hyper-V FAQs, tips and tricks. Derek Isoka, Server App V, end-to-end virtual app deployment. Interesting. Most people look at application virtualization as something on the client side, but he's looking at it from an end-to-end perspective. And Scan Mittal on Microsoft Desktop Virtualization. So if you're here and you're concerned with virtualization, but only not on the server side, the desktop side, I would recommend Scan's session. Security and compliance. I kind of bucket these into groups that apply to the roles of people that might be here. So who is here because they're responsible for security and compliance? All right, there's a few of you. Then we have some good sessions here this week. Rob Willis on Data Protection Manager. And Jason Tang on day-to-day client security management using Configuration Manager 2012. Putting all the pieces together there. Aaron Chakowski, maximizing security for your Configuration Manager 2012 environment. And lastly, Jason Githens, using security and compliance management within Configuration Manager 2012. So these are, I'm just highlighting a few that I thought would be interesting. Who hasn't heard about the cloud? No, everybody's heard about the cloud. Okay, so here's some sessions on the cloud. If your management has tasked you to come and capture the cloud and lasso the cloud and bring it home. Simon Perriman, Cloud Clustering, Leveraging System Center 2012 for continual availability in the private cloud. Adam Hall has a session on System Center and Windows Azure. It's in 2 parts. Annie has a session on Virtual Machine Manager, Zero to Cluster to Cloud. And lastly, Paul Mesternacker has a session on managing from the cloud. That's an interesting concept, using the cloud to manage your infrastructure internally. Now, I think probably one of the first things when I'm looking through my session list is I look for the real world sessions. I want to see a presentation from people, boots on the ground. I already mentioned Sherry and Brian's session where they're going to be talking about what they're doing in their shop. Let me highlight a few more. Chris Mina, Mark Harrelson. They're both from Dell. Chris is responsible for Dell's desktop infrastructure. Mark is responsible for the server infrastructure and OS deployments thereof. So if you want to know how Dell is doing it, that's the session for you. Dharmendra, how Microsoft deployed Configuration Manager 2012 to 280,000 desktops. That's real world. Adam Fazio, Private Cloud 2012. Lesson learned from our early adopters. And Alistair Doran, System Center 2012 Suite, Real World Solutions by CSC and Royal Mail. So here's some customers, and they're going to come up and tell you, hopefully both sides. This was the good, and this was the challenge. That's what we want to hear. Last but not least, Carmen Summers, Real World Solutions from Traffic for Ket, the System Center early adopter. So, that was an overview of some of the breakouts. Let's talk about some of the hidden gems. These are things that kind of get glossed over by the labs and breakouts and labs and breakouts. The Birds of a Feather sessions are on Tuesday and Wednesday night. You'll see them in your schedule builder. Those Birds of a Feather sessions were submitted by you. You said, I want to have a topic on healthcare. I want to have a topic on the banking industry and how they do security. And those topics got submitted and voted on, and they picked the top 16 for Tuesday and Wednesday night. Much more informal. It's not going to be a presentation type of thing. It's more going to be a group of people just talking about the subjects. So look at those on your schedule builder and fit those into your schedule. Obviously, the vendors in the expo hall, they have demos, and they're worth seeing. Go to the expo hall and see what the vendors have. There's always some vendor that I've never heard of, and so I want to see their demos and see what their product is all about. Please approach the presenters if you've got questions with them. But because of time and there's sessions coming in behind them, the presenters will be made available at 5:30 p.m. for you to interact with them. They'll make a little area close by here for you to have a little more one-on-one time with the speakers, little Q&A. So if you need to have that extended conversation with a presenter, tell them you'll meet them at the speaker Q&A. So we've talked about 4 things we connect. You want to learn something. Now you want to give some feedback. Because MMS, everything good about MMS is because of feedback from the people that have attended. And everything that's maybe not so good about MMS is because of the people that have attended haven't said so and given that feedback. So, give direct feedback to the presenters. Come up to them afterwards and, share any feedback that you might have. Give detailed feedback on the sessions. There's sessions evaluations in your schedule builder that you want to go and fill those out. After your session, go out there, rate the session however you feel, and then give detailed information at the bottom if you've got some specific comments. Keep notes for the final survey, especially if it's something that was challenging. If you didn't like what happened with the registration this morning, write that down somewhere so you don't forget about it by Friday and put it in the final survey. Lastly, there's a potential to win prizes. So you put in a survey, and it'll pop up and say, here's the code you won. Go to the registration desk, and they're giving away a lot of things. So connect, learn, feedback. Last, you got to have some fun while you're here, right? So the first thing that you want to do to have fun is you want to go to the vendor expo tonight. It's a very specific way that you want to conquer this vendor expo, right? Because we want to conquer the whole summit, but the vendor expo needs to be conquered too. First thing you want to do is you want to get a bag, okay? You need a bag. I'm not talking that nice bag that you were given at registration. Think grocery bag here. I wouldn't mind if you went to your hotel room and brought a pillowcase. But you want a bag. Why? Because all these vendors have something to give out. So then you want to take that bag and go around the expo hall and fill that bag up. If you've got a lot of kids at home, they go to give you one thing, you sit there and say, I got 3 kids, I can't just take one of those. You know? And they'll give you in multiples. Then you want to eat, okay? Get this order right. Get a bag, fill it up, eat, then you repeat, right? Yeah. Yeah. So this is, I mean, come on, we know how to do this. This is trick or treat for geeks, okay? We know how to do this. I have confidence in you. The vendors have parties. Now, vendors, obviously, they can't broadcast it in the conference book that they're going to have a party because they get 5,000 people wanting to come. And so they've typically reached out to their customers and invited them to their specific parties. But if you have vendors here that you work with, go to their booth. Ask them, you got a party? Try to, you know, because a lot of times they will, you know. A lot of times they rely on their sales teams or what have you to invite people, and so it doesn't hurt. Just go up and ask them. So, the My IT Forum party. Let me give you some very specific information here. My IT Forum is absolutely fantastic for the community, and they don't want to be exclusive at all. So the way their invitations for their party are given out is there's a button, and it's first come, first serve in the expo hall at their booth, which means the expo hall opens at 5:30. You better be lined up by 4:45 or earlier, because everyone is going to run to the back of the expo hall to the My IT Forum booth, because they typically only have about 300, 350 of these buttons, but they give them out to anybody who asks, as long as they have them. So if you want to be a part of the My IT Forum party, and I would highly encourage you to, get in line early for the expo, and when it opens up, run, don't walk, to the back corner. I think they're in the back right. Is that right, back right? Yeah. Yeah. So just, if someone's running in front of you, you follow them, okay? and get in line, and they'll be passing them out. Okay, and then of course you've got the attendee party, the closing party on Thursday. You got a little necklace in your bag for that. Sounds like it's going to be great this year at Paris. So don't miss out on that. That's a great way to finish the week. You know, you've been here, you've connected with people, you've learned something, you've given some feedback, and now you're having fun with all the attendees before you head home. And don't forget, you got the Twitter hashtag MMS Fun, okay? If you don't happen to have something to do tonight, get on Twitter and follow MMS Fun, and I'm sure you'll find somebody who's going to do something, and you could connect with people that way. All right, so the last thing we want to do today is I want to introduce you to some people, and then we're all going to get connected a little bit better. So the first thing I want to do is I've got some alumni that I want to introduce you to. So I want those alumni to come up here on stage. That's you guys. And Tev. And I'm going to bring this mic up here. I bring these guys up for a couple of reasons. One, just so you get to meet them. Some of them have presentations here this week, like Sherry. Some of them are just great people, and I'd rather you meet them this year than 2 years from now. But also to give you an example of just how they introduce themselves to people. So they just give their name, who they work for, what they do, where they're from, how many years they've been at MMS, and so on. So I'll start here with Garth.
All right, my name is Garth Jones. I work for EnhanceSoft. I think my title is Chief Architect. And what are we, 2012? So I think this is my 12th MMS.
Excellent.
Sherry Kissinger, I work for Wells Fargo. I think this is 11 or 12 for me as well.
I'm Jeff Jewett. I work for Iowa Health System in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. This is my 5th year at MMS, and they give my official title as Desktop Imaging Specialist, but that's all other duties as assigned.
I'm Chris Stauffer. I work for the Department of Defense, Defense Logistics Agency, and I can't say what all I do, but I do a little bit of everything. And this is my 3rd year here.
Hello, my name is Tev Sanders. Work for Microsoft Corporation, and I don't have to be a booth babe this year, so I get the year off. I'm pretty excited. I know. I have only missed 3 MMSs, one due to a child's birth and a couple other family-related matters. But I've been at Microsoft. My 15-year anniversary was end of March, so look forward to hopefully meeting a lot of folks, saying hello, and I've been really involved with the community over the years and kind of pointed people in the right direction. So if you feel like you're not getting something or getting lost or whatever, hit us up and we'll hopefully help you out.
Give it a hand for my alumni up here. Thank you so much for helping out. So here's how we're going to meet the rest of you all. If you'll look around, I have all the states of the union around here, so that if you want to connect with someone in your immediate region, you can stand near that state. And here's how it works. If you are from the western United States, you're going to come up over here to the side. If you're from Alaska and Hawaii, you're going to go with them too. If you're from the central United States, you're going to go to the back corner back there. If you're from the southeast, that back corner. If you're from the northeast, you're going to come up here. And I just want you to introduce yourself to some people, get connected, especially if you haven't met somebody. Now, if you are from anywhere else, Garth is going to be up front right here, and you come up and meet him. So thank you all, and good luck conquering the summit this year.